Hey guys, it's James W. Pickering here, and I am back after a while to talk now about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Where do I begin? Ooh, it was kind of crazy how right now it's almost been 10 years since George Lucas decided to sell his company Lucasfilm as well as the Star Wars franchise to Disney. And, at the time, I didn't really think that was such a, you know, good idea. I mean, nothing against Disney, but I mean, I could make another video talking about what I think of them. But I kind of thought it was a little weird that he would sell them to Disney. I mean, I thought that like maybe Paramount or Sony would get the rights to Lucasfilm, but whatever. But I mean, anyways, I do remember when they were making episode 7, which became Force Awakens, and it was kind of cautious excitement. And then I do remember, like, in the end of 2014, like a year before, Awakens came out in theaters. I do remember when the trailer came out. It was kind of crazy how it came out a year before. Although nowadays, I mean, with the COVID pandemic, we had a bunch of trailers come out for movies that were supposed to be out in both 2020 and 21, but you know, the movies would eventually get delayed until like 21 or 22, something like that. But when Force Awakens came out, I actually saw it in theaters around Valentine's Day of 16. And to be honest, I had some very mixed feelings about it. you know, I liked the action scenes in it, but I was a little. I didn't know what to think about how Princess Leia and Chewie were in, as well as Luke being in the movie. But I did like seeing Harrison Ford back as Han Solo. And to tell the truth, I was kind of heartbroken when he died in the end. I mean, at the time, I thought, seeing like John Boyega and Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, I thought that at the time that their characters were quite neat. You know, even though Ray and Kylo Ren were kind of overpowered and kind of emo. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have much feelings for Force Awakens looking back, but I'll say that Last Jedi is where the wheels kind of fall off, though. It's really long, like 2.5 hours, and I don't really like what they did to Luke in that movie. They made him into this angry, snotty, elderly man. Um, and there's a lot of things that I can describe that I don't really like about that movie, and just how it feels like the resistance or the new rebels are on the run from the First Order, which is like the new Imperials, and also like how the character of Poe gets treated like crap by that purple-haired lady played by Laura Dern. Well, it drive me nuts watching that. And even like how when uh, Finn and that Asian girl have to go to the casino planet, you know, I always thought that was kind of silly because they have BB-8 with them or whatever. Like, couldn't they have just used a droid similar to BB-8 or R2 and just like stow away on like Snoke's Star Destroyer and try to deactivate it or whatever? I mean, it doesn't matter because then eventually, after they get caught aboard that ship, and then eventually Laura Dern has all the other people on board the main calamari cruiser just evacuate, and then she just kamikazes that ship right into the Snoke Star Destroyer, which is admittedly a nice image to see, actually. But, I also don't like how Snoke was in the film. I don't like how he died. It kind of felt like this movie was trying to be too much like both Empire and Jedi, and despite being the second part of a trilogy, it felt like it was trying to wrap up the story. Because, I mean, the kids on the casino planet use the Force, and, you know, it kind of just felt like that was a send off. And also, I don't get like why Luke would use a blue lightsaber when with his ghost when he tries to taunt Kylo Ren. Shouldn't have been green. And plus, also like the lightsaber that Rey was using, which was Luke and Anakin's, it got destroyed during her and Kylo Ren's fight with Snoke, which didn't make much sense to me. And then eventually you get to Rise of Skywalker. Oh boy, that movie is quite a mess. It tried to be like, the prequels and the originals plus Force Awakens, like duct taped together. They had to bring back Palpatine, even though he dies in Return of the Jedi. And, it really contradicts the ending of Return of the Jedi, as well as, episodes 1 through 5. And so this movie, it kind of feels like it contradicts. Okay, Last Jedi feels like it contradicts Force Awakens. This movie feels like it contradicts Last Jedi. It's like it doesn't really feel too much of a trilogy to me. And like in this movie, like somehow Rey has Luke and Anakin's lightsaber stitched back together, even though she could have just used a new lightsaber, which she uses at the end. But then, eventually there's all that chaos and stuff, like Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams. Well, it was nice seeing him in the movie. It did feel very like he didn't have much to do or say in the film. Or even how he flies the Falcon at the end with Chewie. And then also, I will say that I thought they did a neat job, like putting Carrie Fisher in the film as Leia, even though she was dead by that point in real life. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. But other than that, like the story was just like a desperate attempt at like, how can we do this? But it just didn't do anything for me, at least. I mean, seeing like it is kind of also funny seeing how Luke was more upbeat despite the fact he was downbeat in Last Jedi. You know, again, like I could go on all day describing how this movie just doesn't make a lot of sense, and then like the ending feels like it rips off the end of Avengers 4, how everybody in the galaxy is going to team up and fight the First Order and Palpatine. And like again, when Rey hears the voices of like Luke and Leia and Yoda and Obi-Wan, and you get like Hayden Christensen as Anakin, and even like Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon and Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, you hear their voices, which I thought was neat. The only thing I kind of did like about Rise of Skywalker, and she gets lightsabers from both Luke and Leia, and she just makes an X with them, and then Palpatine just like destroys himself with his own lightning after getting it redirected to him. It's nuts. But yeah, and then Rey just buries Leia's lightsaber, and then Luke / Anakin's where Uncle Ben's homestead used to be, which is kind of a bit disrespectful to the characters of Anakin, Luke, and Leia, considering that Anakin was a slave, and then his mom got, kidnapped and killed, and then Luke was a farmer who had his aunt, Owen and Beru killed, and then Leia having to come back to Tatooine to free Han Solo from Jabba, only just to be turned into a slave before eventually killing him. So, that was kind of a bit disrespectful to those characters. And then having like Rey saying that she's a Skywalker is kind of tacked on, I mean, I will say that I kind of wish Colin Trevorrow would have made his version of Episode 9, which would have been Duel of the Fates. If you guys read the script, it's so much more intriguing than what we got with Rise of Skywalker. And also, it's kind of cool how they put Darth Plagueis in that script rather than Palpatine in it, which I thought would have been a better idea. And also, I think Rey dies in that script, which I think would have made for a much more interesting story. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the three Star Wars sequels. Force Awakens I thought was just a popcorn flick, but I thought Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker tried to be like something different, but they tried, but ultimately I just feel like it didn't need to happen. I think that they could have just made like one movie, uh, and it could have just been like, hey, like let's celebrate Star Wars. um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. So hope you guys like the video and take care.